On leaving the Matrix, it has been about 9 years into leaving the Matrix, and it happened when I realized the truth of the Bible. It happened when I realized that I was just living a rat race for somebody else's dream, for somebody else's capitalist corporation, for some guy at the top in healthcare. I used to work in healthcare years ago, about a decade now. I can't believe I'm saying that. It has literally been about a decade since I last worked in healthcare. The biggest matrix that exists on this planet is the Western healthcare system. I was watching a documentary today, and it was like a short Instagram reel, okay? It wasn't even a full documentary, but the information that was compacted in that small amount of time was huge. So it was like a question. It was like, okay, if you're a woman and you were pregnant, how much did it cost to give birth across the world? And so they would ask these women in the United States. The lowest amount was 20,000, highest amount was 40, 50,000. Y'all know the sisters, the mothers who have given birth, doesn't matter what race, if you've given birth in America, you already know, you know. It's a matrix, okay? And then they asked people in London, England, and they were like, well, I'm from London, so it's free. They asked people from France, and they were like, well, I'm from France, so it was free. Cost was $0.00. And I've given birth in East Africa and Tanzania. I've done home births, and, it was basically free. Even going into the hospital afterwards, you get like a consultation checkup, like you do most of the time, and it's about $30, $25 at most, depending on which hospital you're going to out of pocket. And, it's like America's such a matrix, and I'm so glad that I got out of the matrix and I found a way to get out. And I want to define what a matrix is, okay? A matrix is essentially this bubble that people are trapped in, being manipulated to do the will of people that are elite, that are higher to them, and they are their superiors, okay? And so you find this in America, you find this in corporate America, you find this in healthcare, you find this in the banking industry, you find this just in day-to-day life in America, where it's like, get on this rat wheel, get on this hamster wheel, do whatever I tell you to do, especially in the school system, which is why we're so big on homeschooling and education, right? We are so big on that because we understand that the education system is the prerequisite to the matrix, meaning by the time you graduate high school, that's your graduation diploma of all right, you're ready to enter the matrix for the rest of your life, to live for corporate America, die for corporate America, become so stressed out to the point that you don't have any time to actually know your family. I mean, what kind of life are you living when you have children, but you're working 40, 50 hours a week, your children are at school for 40 hours a week, then they have sports, that adds on about 15 hours a week, right? And so essentially you just know your children part-time. You're like part-time family, part-time know your kids, part-time know your parents type of deal. This is not the way we were supposed to be as humans. I don't believe that, especially when I read the Bible, especially when I read ancient historical narratives in Africa and how life was supposed to be before this matrix came on the scene to tell everybody, hey, you need to work for me or else. You need to be in corporate or else. Business ownership is the quickest way to get out of the matrix. And it does seem difficult at first. Of course, it was hard to be a stay-at-home mom. And then my husband, he was working, and we had just had our third child. And it was like, okay, do business ownership. It got to the point I asked him, do you think I should just go back to work? I could just go to Pfizer. If I could leave healthcare and get into banking. I was already getting into banking as a fraud analyst at Chase Bank. The Most High had given me favor in that way that I could just switch industries automatically, and I would just acquire these positions, these high-level positions. But he said, no, don't do it. Just work on the business, work on building the business. And I was like, okay, that makes sense, from a long view standpoint, because we don't always want to be dependent on corporate America. And we knew that part of getting out the matrix was actually exiting the matrix, physically exiting. So spiritually, we exited from our beliefs and our spiritual system. We do not believe in the way Christianity is today. We do not believe in the way Israelites are today. We do not believe in whatever Buddhists believe. We don't believe in any of that stuff. We have zero labels. That's like ingredient number one to get out of the matrix is to not have any labels associated with you so that people cannot trap you in this box, whatever their made up box is, where they fill these assumptions and say all these things. What we are followers of the one and only Savior, YAHUAH, who happens to be of Hebrew descent. Okay, we believe the entire Bible from front to back, the fullness of it. Okay, and so that is our belief, and there's no label associated with that, no religious strings attached to that, no congregation. We can get into even the religious matrix, because religion is a tool of abuse and witchcraft manipulation. A Bible in the wrong hands is one of the most powerful weapons on the face of the earth. Just look at the Crusades. A Bible in the wrong hands, I'll repeat it, is one of the most powerful weapons on the face of the earth. Just look at the Crusades that happened throughout Europe. Look at that history. Just look at what King Leopold did to the Congo, right? Because of this doctrine of, the quote-unquote Hamitic people, when they weren't even Hamitic. I digress. That's another ploy of the matrix. The matrix is when they put in these little pieces of propaganda and you just regurgitate that your entire life. And you spend, if you're blessed, you spend 80 years. But if you're not so blessed, maybe you spend 50. Maybe at 25 years old, you've already lived half your life and you don't even know it yet, because you're on a matrix that you can't escape from. You're on a matrix that somebody is telling you is the best thing alive for you. You're on a matrix where you're asking, give me more matrix, give me more matrix, give me more matrix, give me more trade wars, give me more airplane crashes, give me more foolery and politics. And it's like, we wanted to opt out of that a long time ago. I wanted to opt out of it in 2015, a year after I graduated from high school. Because upon graduating from high school, my eyes were open and I saw everything for what it was. It was like literally going through time in the future and seeing down the road in 10 years from 2015 to 2025. Wow, it's been a decade. That just hit me, 2015 to 2025. It's been a decade. And I'm so glad in 2015, a year out of high school at 19 years old, I was praying to the Most High to show me the truth, to reveal to me what the truth is, to reveal to me the things that are coming to the world, to reveal to me why my people are treated in the way they are across the world, to reveal to me why Africa is treated the way it's treated. I asked for these things in 2015, and He gave me the increase and showed me the vision fully in 2019, 2020, when we left America and have not returned. And so that was one piece of leaving the matrix, coming out of the spiritual system of the matrix. Number two, business ownership, owning my time, owning my free time, owning my children's education, right? Obviously, there's curriculum out there that America provides that is super helpful, just to be quite honest. That curriculum is helpful. But we are free to also add in African curriculum, to add in microbiology, early anatomy lessons, first aid lessons, right? We're free to add in finances and entrepreneurship, because every other society does it except America, because America is the one and only true matrix. Back at the beginning of this video, remember the story I told you, where women who had given birth were asked on the street how much it costs to give birth in their respective countries. Women who had stayed in America would tell you $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. Women in France, Spain, and the UK would tell you $0. I have been living in Africa since 2020, and I will tell you, to give birth in Africa, or at least in Tanzania and perhaps in Kenya, is maybe a couple $100 at most, depending on if you need a C-section. Now, if it's natural, it's going to be more affordable. It's a matrix. It's all a game. They're literally playing with you, and I wish you could see it. I hope you do see it. I hope you wake up and start to inquire about these things and ask the difficult questions. I think that healthcare is what gave me this boldness, because once I started to see the wickedness in that industry, it was like opening Pandora's box of being aware and awake of what the matrix is. One of the most powerful tools they have in the matrix is that system. being someone that was in nursing school, having been in healthcare since the age of 16, having been as a child wanting to be in healthcare my entire life, only to find how corrupted and treacherous it was. When they would teach us, you can't do herbal remedies, they're dangerous. It can't be that dangerous if the peoples of Africa are repopulating just fine. It can't be that dangerous if the peoples of India are repopulating just fine and outpacing China. But Western societies are failing at that. Why is that? That's a matrix. That's a lie. The matrix is this little bubble where people control you. And I think they're not even angry at the people who escape. I think they just know we can't have any effect on these people. They believe too much of the truth. But the people that fall for the ploys and the games, they've basically handed over their covenant to a taskmaster to control their lives, and it will continue to happen. I was just speaking to a client earlier, just a few minutes ago actually, and she was talking about diversifying her retirement visa from East Africa to the country I'm in of Mauritius. And it's really interesting that people are starting to see, I actually don't need to be tied for a mortgage until I'm dead. By the way, the root word mort in mortgage means death, mortality, mort. So to have a mortgage is I'm going to be tied to something for the duration of my mind, the duration of my life, which equates to till the day I die. You can take a mortgage if you want, but I'd strongly suggest investing. Be an entrepreneur. If you take a mortgage, don't just have it to be a liability, something that just always drags you down and stops you from exploring, stops you from having less stress, freedom, health, because true wealth is your health. What do you have if you don't have your health? What is it for you to gain the whole world and lose your soul? What is it for you to gain, living like the Joneses and doing this in this suburban area, then being in this area, in this corporation, and then living like this, but to only live out half of your life and never get to the fullness of it? For me specifically, that scared the mess out of me, being someone that has taken care of people while they were dying. I've been very close to death in that area, but also was near death at 12 years old when I had pneumonia and they had to do emergency surgery on my lungs. And so for me, it's very clear. For you, it should be also. I'm sure you've had instances in your life that if you allow the Most High to work and to show you the way that He views the world and not the way that corporate America and Elon and all them folks want you to view the world, you would see that you're supposed to be in the sunlight. You're supposed to ground your feet. You're supposed to be one with nature. You're supposed to take nature walks. You're supposed to laugh. You're supposed to enjoy. You're supposed to worship. You're supposed to eat organic food. You're supposed to enjoy. You weren't made to be tied down to a corporation for 50 to 60 years. You weren't made for that. You weren't made to never know who your people were, to never even understand your history and the history of our motherland. Is that what you were created for? I know that's not what I was created for. And this is my story, how I've escaped the matrix through prayer to the Most High, through the atonement of my Savior Yeshua, who allowed me to escape the matrix and open my eyes completely full so that not only I could see what's going on, but secondarily I could forgive those who have transgressed against me, so I could come to a fullness of life in paradise, so I could share this message with you, so I could share also the gospel that, Yahushua wasn't just crucified for a Roman Catholic church, but the Roman church crucified him. He was crucified so that you would have life and have it everlastingly, that you wouldn't have to be in captivity anymore. Isn't it funny, the irony, that our ancestors were in captivity? And Yahushua says he came to set the captives free. I'll leave you with that. Shalom, shalom. Escape the matrix as soon as possible. You will be blessed and abundantly, exceedingly wealthy and joyful on your journey. Our King, Yeshua, he was able to bring thousands of loaves of bread, thousands of fish from just 2 and 5. So what exceedingly great works can he manifest in your life if you choose to believe and depart from the matrix this day? Shalom, shalom.